our meeting to order. Okay, so George, I know you have to leave early, so you had asked us if we could reorder the agenda. What did you want to begin with? The seal?
Yes, please.
Okay, so we're gonna jump to that. So I hope you don't mind. Let's jump it around a little bit. So we're gonna just do item from new business. We're gonna do item B, our town seal discussion, the next step recommendations. Does everybody have the short document that Lisa prepared for us? It's kind of just like a bullet point. Basically answering the question that the selectmen asked of us to take a stand and determine kind of if we think a next step is necessary and or if a change is necessary. Does everybody have that, or it's here in the room for us? I don't know if it got sent to everybody, but they did. Yep.
So it was emailed out to everybody. I don't know if the screen at home, I'm gonna hope Lisa just emailed it to me. I'm gonna hope I can find it. Did you also happen to save it to a directory, or is it in a scan directory?
It's in the scan directory, yes.
Oh, Christ.
Hey, this is rated G.
Oops.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
I just got this, I saw it for the first time about 20 minutes ago. Is this a memo that is supposed to go from the commission to the board? Is that it?
Yes. Yes. That's what
Okay,
we're.
with any kind of cover note or just as is here?
So
I mean, I suppose there could be a cover, and then there's also the question if we want to attach any documentation, like supporting the documents from the packet that we've put together, or if we want to just start with this.
Okay, I just wanted to know what it was exactly.
I
Okay,
don't know. Right packet, Lisa.
No.
This is all,
No,
oh,
that's
we're
not-
having
that's not it.
technical difficulties here,
I
guys.
just scanned it.
So that
Oh,
was,
that's really old. Yeah, that's
but I
progress.
don't know if that was, that's 2021.
Are we talking about the seal first?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm just ordering here. I'm gonna try to get to the correct page so that we can all be sure we're looking at exactly the same item.
That'd be great.
Just bear with me.
There you go. That starts.
Between Christmas and me being out of town last week, we're a little scrambled, so.
You're not the only one.
All right, so bear with me. And I'm going to share my screen. And you guys, can you guys see the email message
Yes.
from Julie? So I just to, play a little bit of catch up, Lisa and I walked through this to figure out where do we leave things off. My recollection is the committee, George had done a bunch of work, kind of handed it off to Bob, Julie, who did some more work, including watching the video from, I think it was June, from the Board of Selectmen's meeting, really paying close attention to what the direction was that was provided by the board. I think Bob had reworked and reorganized. I think Melanie had made everybody here has had a hand. Melanie had some good organizational feedback on the memo and making clear what was what. So we had a bit of back and forth about kind of what and how much to hand off to the Board of Selectmen. I stepped in and just said, let's wait for the meeting. Can't really have those conversations by email. And here we are today. So the what's in the packet that Lisa emailed out this morning, understanding it's short notice, was the email exchange with Julie, Bob, George, and I think Jack, you were on some of it. And then what you're looking at here from June 29 of 2021 is a transcript of the Board of Selectmen's meeting that Bob put together. And then just, I'm going through it so we can, and then there's kind of real, this is, I think, the summary, which could have the makings of a cover memo. Is that, have I characterized everything correctly?
Right.
Anyways, here we are. Julie, I turn it back to you.
Okay, yes, so basically what we determined at our last meeting was that the selectmen really just want us to take a position and say whether or not we think the seal should be changed, and then briefly what we think should kind of go on from there. So it looks like I just briefly read through the question, the one that starts with the question here, it's on the screen. It kind of sounds like this is what Lisa's going to summarize from all of our deliberations and discussions and readings about all of this into a pretty succinct, like 2-page document that we could easily present to the Board of Selectmen in answer to their question. And then if we wanted to, we just need to decide how much of this supporting documentation we want to add for them to review, keeping in mind that they do have some of this already from the PowerPoint that we presented in June. So there we go. Does anybody have any comments, thoughts?
Is Lisa's 2-page thing what we're reading on the email, or it's Julie, from you, Julie, it's the work you and Bob did?
That is just, the email there is just kind of a summary of what we discussed sort of back and forth, but right here on the screen,
This, yeah, so
the
this,
one that starts with the
transcript.
question.
yeah, so
Is what we've, yeah, that's just a transcript of the
So,
actual meeting.
Melanie, what I'm showing right here is the transcript
I get,
from the June 29 meeting. Then 2 pages later, there's a page that starts the question. I think that this is what Lisa put together following.
George put that together
or-
and sent it
or
over this
George
morning.
did,
And this
okay.
man sent it this morning, so.
Okay,
do we have that in the email? Sorry,
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question.
do we have that 2-page on email, or are we reading it now?
Lisa, did this get emailed out?
Yeah.
That
Okay.
should be in your email.
Yeah.
Okay.
From this morning,
But
Melanie.
it's gonna be presented here also, so.
I'm looking.
All right, so this is from George, so sorry, I didn't.
This is
realize
from,
that.
I'm sorry,
Yes,
George, I
sent that
thought
this
it was
morning.
from
Yep,
Lisa
yep,
as
no,
well.
George did that.
Yay, George, sorry.
Yes, Lisa. Yeah, so, I mean, I just briefly read through it, and it takes all like the highlights of kind of what we've been talking about and summarizes it nicely in an easy way for, I feel like, the Board of Selectmen to consider and review. So, I like that.
So so I'm wondering, is this set to go, just these 2 pages? Does the committee want us to just translate this into a memo with letterhead and a signature and submit to the Board of Selectmen?
Wouldn't this dismiss all the work that George and everybody have done?
All that other work is backup.
But is it gonna go with is the backup gonna go with this? Because if
That's what
not,
we.
I'm comfortable.
I think George has
George?
his hand.
George, go ahead.
So what I did this morning was I just edited the section that Julie and Bob had put together on a proposed town meeting warrant. So I guess I have a couple of questions. One is Karen, when is the warrant article, due to the town administrator?
I think the last day that the warrant is closed by the Board of Selectmen on January 25.
Oh, okay,
if
so
You have a warrant article that you want to submit. You would need to get it there, lickety split.
well, and that I think that's one of our key dates is to submit what our proposed town meeting warrant is, and I think at today's meeting, so we got two things that we're looking at. One, and their parallel is to submit the warrant and make sure that we get this in so we're not blocked out. And then also submit a cover memo to the select board, to your point, Karen, with this summary as to, you asked us what the next step should be and what our recommendation is. Well, here it is. And oh, by the way, here is the proposed next steps and the proposed warrant, and also what the review committee should consider. So again, not as much detail that we originally put together, and purposely, that'll be for the committee to deal with. So so I think and again, reading your email, Karen, from December, you had mentioned that you and Lisa, based on pages 4 and 5 that Julie had created, which was the question and the next step recommendations, there's enough here to create both the warrant and the email to the select board. So I think that's what we're looking to finalize today.
I don't know if you guys can hear the heater at home. So I've muted us when you're speaking. Can I?
Yeah, go ahead.
George, there's one question, and I'm perfectly fine. We will do kind of the will of the committee for sure here. I just want to, if I can show you back to Bob's transcript. What I don't see is that so let me see, where is it? I don't know that, I think that the understanding that you need town meeting to create a committee is not wholly accurate. And I think that we can draft the memo so that we couch it in case they want to do a warrant article. That's great, because the comment, where was it? Here we go. Here it's Dan Horrigan. He says, he started out, I would make a motion that we form a committee, just form a committee, to investigate the potential changes to the town seal and make a presentation to town meeting. And the way that I understood that was that the committee that could be established by the Board of Selectmen would kind of review the town seal topic, and then that committee would make a presentation to town meeting. And I don't know.
Correct.
That's the way I understood it, but happy to couch it in case they wanted to do it the other way.
Yeah, the way I see it is all they're asking us for is, do we think there should be a change?
A position.
And then, for us to take a position on whether we think that there should be further action. They're not asking us for a warrant.
I think that that's right, Julie, but I don't think that this memo states it that clearly.
The two.
I just reread it. Like I said, I got it about 9:30.
Right.
And I think that for instance, is it appropriate to make changes to the town seal? The very first sentence doesn't answer the question,
Right,
which you just answered. It tells them what we did,
yeah,
but doesn't say that we think that there are inaccuracies on the Native American side of the images that ought to be corrected. And that seems to me to be judgment number one from, I'll tell you what I think that I've heard since we've been discussing this. Judgment number one is that there are inaccuracies in the current town seal when it comes to the Native American imagery. And I think the second judgment is that any next steps should be taken by another body, not this commission, but we would be represented on that other body. And that's what we ought to be recommending in very clear, explicit language to the Board of Selectmen, that the seal has inaccuracies on the Native American side, and that you, the Board of Selectmen, are the ones to take the next step. We would, as a commission, like to have a representative if you decide to take action on this. But I've been hearing all along that this commission doesn't want to be the focal point of the next steps in any review process. And one last comment on this memo that came around this morning. I think there's some language in here that, to me anyway, seems to prejudge the outcome of a review committee.
I agree.
And I think that we have, as a commission, every right or responsibility to say what our judgment is about the images on the seal. But I think that if we're moving ahead with telling the selectmen, you as a group should form a new committee to take it to the next steps, that we shouldn't be prejudging the outcome. I'll point out that, as an example, in the Mashpee situation, that an old town seal that was dominated by Native American images came out with a recommendation for a new town seal that had no Native American images per se, but they were there in spades in that rising sun and the natural setting that was provided. So, and that's what I mean about prejudging. You don't know what a review committee would come up with. They may come up with something completely different. That's what I have to say right now. And I'll mute
Thanks,
myself.
academic. Yes, that's good. Yeah, I think this can be reworded to answer the question first. And then I don't believe it should have a proposed warrant on it at all.
It doesn't sound like they're asking.
They're not. So I don't think that should even be there. We can recommend like what we believe a committee should be. Like this second part here is fine.
I think it's somewhat confusing because they're asking
Agreed.
for next steps, and are we the ones supplying the next steps, or is the committee?
Right.
And you can't get to the committee unless you recommend
A committee.
a committee
go.
be made. So it's a little bit of a chicken.
Yeah. George?
So, Karen, to your prior point, I mean, let's look at what the select board has asked us to do, which is to give them guidance and give them suggestions. So Karen, you had mentioned that we could add language, to that effect. And, if you go back and read the July 4th Cape Cod Times article after our presentation, Mark Forrest quotes that this should be decided at town meeting. So, he stated that fact. So,
That whether or not the town seal should be changed take place at a town meeting.
No, to consider the next steps.
No.
yes, that's my reading of it also.
And you can't get an answer at town meeting without a warrant, right?
Well, again, that's, that ultimately is their choice. And, if we get this out, they can decide, and management, the town administrator can decide. However, I feel as a body who is consultative, for us not to state that, here's our view and here are our, suggestions. And, we're giving you the smorgasbord and,
What-
and you select. However, I think we're remiss if we don't lay out the, options for them to consider.
So you're saying we should leave the warrant suggestion in?
That's correct.
Yeah,
They suggest,
I think you could say the commission, this commission, because I'm unclear. We have the direction that we received at a Board of Selectmen meeting. That just says, go back and deliberate upon the question of whether or not it's appropriate at this time for the town to make changes to the town seal. And that's what was seconded and voted.
he chatted with Horgan and he changed
He had
his
Change his
mind,
motion.
because he first proposed something
Right,
else, then there
this
was
was-
discussion, and
Yep.
then this is,
This is what was,
and so,
what
Yes,
was
that's what
the
they-
end.
right, so I
That's the
focused,
motion at the top
right,
there.
so Julie and I in this, we focused on that last statement.
And I think I think that if you want to say, the historic commission's had a great deal of discussion and we, I'm, I don't like to use terms like confused in memos, but, that, there's, I don't know, had conversation about whether or not you want to put it on the warrant. But I'll do whatever the group wants.
I also don't think we can make changes or decisions based on a newspaper article. Like, we have to go on this from the selectmen's meeting. That's what they're asking us. What someone says to a reporter in a newspaper, that shouldn't be affecting our decisions or what we're putting in this.
It should be supported.
Julie, I think you're right on that. I'd like to just come back and say, I'm not confused at all as to what we should be doing next. And it is, there are elements of confusion at play when you listen to the summer Board of Selectmen meeting. But in the end, I'm not confused at all. This is pretty simple. Is the
Yeah.
seal accurate? No. What's inaccurate about it? We know it's several elements of the Native American imagery. Is the seal inaccurate? Yes, it has never, and I want to use that word with emphasis, never been in compliance fully at all with the 1894 written description that was accepted at town meeting. That mistake has been repeated over and over and over again. No one's to blame, everyone's to blame there. On that, they're minor details, they need administrative correction, but it's a mistake. And the third point is, from my standpoint, is with the advent of colorization in the 1970s, which in our research, there's never been any blessing by anybody in town, any organization in town, government, that blessed color, various aspects of this seal and color. And since then, kind of like Topsy, it just grew. And what we've got now, and this is just my research, which is incomplete, but it's sure enough, I'd bet a whole mortgage payment on this. You have got multiple variations in color of the town seal on badges, vehicles, boats, stationery, the town website, social media, and at a minimum, those images, those various images cause confusion. And in the worst case, and again, I want to emphasize in the worst case, the Native American imagery that is reproduced in some of those official variations is worse than the black and white original seal. And that's the message that ought to be conveyed and can be done in a page to the Board of Selectmen And then we say to them, it's back in your court. This is not something that the Yarmouth Historical Commission is prepared to be the focal point. We're a stakeholder, but we're not the focal point. We don't have the wherewithal or the experience in running a townwide survey of this sort that would be required, that we've seen Mashpee do or other towns do for this. So there's no confusion here in my mind. It's just, we need to state things more explicitly than I see in the memo that came out this morning.
Yeah.
Okay, so can I paraphrase Jack's? I want to make sure and, oh, sorry. Go ahead, Melanie.
I was just saying that leaves out what they asked for in terms of next steps. That restates very nicely the summary of George's history, but it doesn't respond to their request for next steps.
But the request for next steps is not in the final statement.
This is the motion that was voted, Melanie, the one at the top of this page on the screen.
The next step is pretty clear. And we should be very firm in our judgments. The next step is not ours. The next step, Board of Selectmen, is yours. There's nothing wrong in my mind with us as a commission going back to the board and saying that is in our best judgment, not something that this historical commission should be doing next. It's you deciding whether you want to go forward with this. This is as much a political issue as it is a cultural issue.
Well, of course.
So it's pretty clear. I don't have any problem with what you just said, Melanie. We can just say, but we should say it in those terms. It's back in, not these words because it's too glib, too fresh, but it's back in your court. We think that you should be making the decision, dear board members.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
I feel that is too easy for them to say nothing and do nothing without the next steps that George pulled together that have been massaged in the next memo, because they're not going to think through all the backup that George and everybody has gone through. They're going to just say no. That's an easy thing to say no to or do nothing about without those next steps delineated.
Well, that's a fair point, but I'll underline it with this, that it's their call to make. We've made our call, and now this is a policy call. And sometimes the experts who go forward, I don't want to go back into some personal history, but I've had a lifetime of experience telling policymakers things they don't want to hear.
Right.
And it's not easy, but it's the right thing to do. And sometimes you get a black eye when you're doing it, but you know what? Move on. And we should just tell them, we think you're wrong. We think you're wrong. We think it's your call to make, and just state it that explicitly.
But they don't know what to do. They won't know what to do without all the other information.
Well, we have,
Give it to them.
And they've had the information.
Presentation with the other information.
Jack, can I put words in your mouth? So.
sure, I can, as long as I can edit them.
Yeah, no, always. This is teamwork, right? Oh man, I had a whole sentence, and I lost it now. But it's the Historic Commission feels strongly that the town seal, I'm writing while I speak, the town seal review and any subsequent actions be initiated and led by the Board of Selectmen.
Yeah.
Does that mean
The town seal. I'm sorry, go ahead.
does that mean on the back end of this sheet where we have a recommendation?
This page?
Yes.
Is this it?
Yes.
Would we,
Yes.
I mean, that is a recommendation of sorts. That would not appear?
I don't like that if it doesn't.
What if you just said, Karen, just to kind of keep working on the, smoothing the language, the town seal review should, a town seal review should be taken to a new level decided by the Board of Selectmen. That's pretty clear, putting the ball in their court. And Melanie, I just say that, we could probably agree to disagree. It's a separate judgment what they do. And we can bring the board the facts and a recommendation like this, that you should consider taking this review to a new level at a townwide basis. But you can't force an elected body to do things. That's what they're elected to do for. We may not like it, but that's the way of the world.
Kind of deliberations that George, Julie, and Bob have done. They're not going to do that kind of research.
I got one.
It's going to be too easy to do nothing.
Well, like I said, we could, I think that if you present it in a certain way, the board will respond. I know they have differences of opinion, but
They'll ask questions.
Of course. And if we're making it very brief and very to the point, it's not to say that we can't be like, okay, if you decide to create a committee, here is our recommendation for what the committee should consist of. You can still put that in and not make it seem like we're forcing it, or they can still make their decision.
Compatible with what other towns.
Yeah, just as a, for like, it's like it's written right there. For example, it's not saying this is what you have to do, or this is what we're saying to do. This is just saying, this is our recommendation. And it doesn't have to be under a warrant part of the thing. It can just be like, okay, after you deliberate on this, and if you decide that this needs to go forward to town meeting and you want to establish a committee, here is our recommendation for what the committee should consist of. Boom. You put
yeah,
it.
absolutely, Julie, that's right.
But
And,
what's going to make them think of that they should have a committee? If you say nothing, who says they're going to come up with that?
Well, they did come up with it because in the transcript from the meeting, one of the selectmen, that was what he wanted to do originally, and then modified his motion. So he was already thinking in that way.
About a
So-
committee?
Yeah,
I-
do you have he go back to that?
Where do you want it?
It's
The
Dan Horgan.
transcription of the
The
meeting.
Dan Horgan,
Yeah, up before he changed his motion.
Before,
The
Yeah.
top of
up
the
towards the
page.
top.
His first one, where is it?
right here. At this point, he says.
I would make a
so
motion
this
to
is-
form a committee. So he was already thinking that way, and that's what his initial suggestion was.
Yep,
But then they had more discussion, and then he
Threw it back
modified
to
it.
us.
yeah.
Yeah, then he modified it and tossed it back to us, exactly.
Top
So
potato.
Or
that
don't
was
you
his
think
initial
everybody
reaction.
Said that?
What?
What,
Remember what they say? I mean,
I'm still enough of an idealist to believe, after all these years, decades of it, I'm still enough of an idealist to believe that oftentimes elected bodies do the right thing. Sometimes it's an ugly process, but they get around to it. So
I
that's
don't,
where
I don't disagree with that. I just think we should help them.
but I think we can. I think that,
George, go ahead, George.
Bob, go ahead.
I'd like to make a proposal that Jack take this information and make a stab at a statement with the elements that you talked about. YHC not the focal point, the native imagery is inaccurate, it was never correct, the colorization causes confusion, and next steps by the selectmen. That somehow, Jack, you take a stab at crafting something.
I'm
I
happy to help Jack.
thought my mother taught me better than this, but yes, I'll do that.
Everything else go with it? Could everything else go with it?
The part where the commanding officer says, all volunteers take one step forward. That's I've never mastered that. All right,
Ju- just-
I'll do that.
Thank you, Jeff.
And just a couple of other points. And again, referencing the other towns that have created these review committees, best practices are that they have put that in front of town meeting, the creation thereof. So we're just, again, reinforcing this is a best practice that has been exhibited by other towns and cities. And we're just, again, giving you that information and that perspective. And then just one other point, and I'll shut up, is that if it behooves us to get this out quickly, because if the power is to be decide, yeah, we want to go this best practices route, if we don't get a warrant in for April, then this pushes off again into next October at the next bite at the apple. So it's, it just, and it makes the town look worse and for not stepping up and dealing with this. And that came out in the Cape Cod Times article dealing with the Mashpee seal, where in fact the town planner mentioned specifically that when they were doing their research, they didn't see any evidence of TPs being here and called out Yarmouth on that. So I think we've come with a good solution, and to my point, it gives the board the full loaf, not just half the loaf.
George, I think I quickly wrote down enough of the words about best practices in other towns, reaching out to their town meeting to bless these kind of actions on reviewing a town seal. But if you want to bang out a quick sentence and email it to me,
Sure.
Please do that. Karen, Lisa, Julie, what are we looking at a deadline here?
Well,
Next week.
I think you should do it as soon as possible. I mean, can you write it
Okay.
to say, Jack?
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
I'm only partially kidding because next week, the Board of Selectmen aren't meeting as a regular meeting next week. Next week are interviews for town council. Next Monday is a holiday. So, and if it's something that, and I'm looking to Julie, if it's something you want the committee to reconvene and look at one more time, the earliest that we can post a meeting at this point would be Tuesday because of the Monday holiday. And at this point, it wouldn't be till the afternoon. So if you want to meet in a week, maybe that's Thursday, the 20th.
What are we gonna meet with? One sentence from Jack?
No, here's what I would like to try to do this in a page. I don't know, I'm thinking 12-point type, but we'll see. Here's what I can do this pretty quickly, I think. After listening to the video of the last meeting, which I didn't go to, where this was discussed, I sat down and I came up with this, which is, what do I believe? Because when I said I wasn't confused, I'm certainly not confused, but I was confused when I started this. And what I find is that if I start writing things down, my mind clears, and I see the flaws in my own arguments, and I'm sure there's still flaws in them, but it clears my mind. And I tried to do this in sort of 5 things I believe that came out of all our discussions, which are about a year long now, I think. So I can use this. I think I must have went through 5 drafts before I was happy in my mind that I knew what I believed. And I think that I've heard you echo, Bob. You certainly, I think, picked up on the points that I would like to emphasize in a memo like this.
I'll send them to you.
That would go to the board. But I can do this, and since I've already foolishly committed to doing it, why don't I commit to doing it by Monday?
Hey, Jack,
How's
I have a request.
Yeah,
Since we have to post the meeting, I request that we ask for an extension of this meeting through tomorrow. And
okay, all right.
And maybe we can get something to review by tomorrow because we're gonna get bound up next week.
Okay, all right.
I hate to push it.
That's fair. No, that's fair enough. This can be translated into government, government style memo, I think. I hope.
I'll send you whatever notes I have.
Okay, let me just ask everybody here. Does anybody take violent exception to anything I said this morning?
No,
I do.
Okay, what is that? On what point?
I agree with everything you've said. It's what's not said, which is the backup information. You can say a phrase or a sentence about looking at what other towns have done, but we've got it all written out about what other towns have done. They're not going to do that research. They're not
Melanie,
going to know what that phrase means.
What if
all
we-
of that can be available.
Yeah, I think that,
Why let them have to ask for it when we've got it?
what if we were to attach to a memo to the board with the things we've talked about this morning? If we attach to that what we've already done, the package that went with Bob's briefing back this summer, or anything else that we've done since then, would that help, Melanie?
With the stuff that Bob and Julie worked on from what George did would be the package I would want to see go with what you're doing. I agree your cover is the right thing, but the rest of it, if we don't even suggest a warrant, there will be no warrant. If we don't let them see the words committee, they won't, they're all bollocksed up with everything else. I believe in feeding them what I want them to think, but that's.
Well, I'm just trying to, I don't know if you can see me on the screen, but I'm using my phone, but I'm looking at my laptop now for a copy of something that I think was sent out in the past several days. It's several pages long. Lisa sent it out, and it was the basic document from which the 2-page memo that's before us this morning was drawn. Would that be satisfactory to include that as an attachment to a cover memo?
Not that 2-page thing that Lisa did, no.
No, I'm talking
Right.
about the
Sure.
whole thing that was done there. That's what I'm looking for now.
trying. George,
He's
go
trying
ahead.
to.
Jack, I think, and I concur that, and yes, we've given all of this information, but again, considering that the executive branch is real busy, to say, well, you've already received this. I again agree with Melanie, is that, and Bob and Julie spent a lot of time on this, and Bob did an index of what's attached, and again, it's there if you want it. I agree with Melanie. They shouldn't have to go dig. It's a refresher.
We're not gonna
So Jack, yes, to your question, we would attach Bob's summary and then the documents that we had listed out, again, as background.
All right, can you send me that, or send all of us?
Yeah,
that?
I'll send fresh info out to you.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
And yeah, okay, all right, that's
Yep.
good. And that'll include, I'm looking at this morning's memo on the back, the second page of that has a kind of a 5-step summary of what the next steps should be. Five
Yeah,
steps.
Exactly.
bullet.
I'll get that a fresh package out to you, Jack.
Okay. Melanie, does that work for you?
Yeah, a little child shall lead them, you know?
Uh,
So are we
Okay.
together tomorrow? Is that what's trying to happen here?
Yeah, we can try and get that page done, and we already have all the backup information.
What
Okay.
time? What time?
What time,
Uh,
Jack? What time, Jack?
So in other words, we'll reconvene tomorrow at,
What we're gonna
8
do
hours.
is, at the
That's
end
what
of this meeting, rather than entertaining a motion to adjourn the meeting, we're going to entertain a motion to continue this meeting to a date and time certain.
Okay,
So that needs, you've all agreed on tomorrow. We need to pick a time, though.
would it be better for administrative reasons, just to make sure we've got all the paperwork lined up and everything, to do it for, say, 1 o'clock in the afternoon? Or the earliest I'd be comfortable with is 11.
1 o'clock.
One o'clock
One
is-
is fine.
1 o'clock?
That work for everybody?
Right, yep.
Okay, 1300.
Okay.
Go,
All right,
Jack,
I will
go.
get, Karen, I will get a draft. Julie, Karen, do you want me to send the two of you a draft early? Like,
Sure.
10 or 11?
Sure.
Yeah,
Yes.
and then.
Whenever
and
you've
then-
got it, Jack.
Okay, all right, whenever, I like whenever. Okay. All right, maybe I'll send it at 2 a.m.
I
Okay,
wouldn't, somehow I wouldn't be surprised.
I'll read it at 9.
all right.
All right,
I
awesome.
propose that we stop discussing this and move on to the next agenda
Thank
item.
you. Yes. Our buddy Joe has been hanging out while
Yeah.
we've talked about this for a while.
Okay, so
Alright.
1 o'clock tomorrow, I'm gonna make
Yeah.
sure we're gonna
Alright.
make sure we got the room and the
And the
Zoom link
Zoom.
all set up. We'll
Okay.
resend everything out. Do you guys think you'll be, just so I can, not knowing what space is available, kind of informal poll, who will be in person, who will be remote?
It'll be in person.
Remote.
Remote.
Remote?
Okay, so just, it's a ditto for today. Awesome. Thank you.
Okay. All right, moving on. Okay, we're going to let Joe go over to 286 Old Main.
I
Can-
brought 3 larger versions in case you guys want to
Yeah.
run through.
Sure.
And we have all of this electronically,
the
Lisa?
package.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
It's just a smaller
Small.
version, right, by Joe, the same, it's the
exactly.
same as what you've already got. All right.
So I was here 3 months ago to look at this project.
We have this on,
Yeah, I'm scrolling through the packet. to get
that we
to
need to
it.
get them to see it.
Is it at
It's,
the
I think it's
end?
at the top.
Oh,
It
it's
was
at the
original,
top.
it was the
Oh.
original.
Oh, yeah, it was first.
Number
So-
1, so, yeah. all that Stuff there.
Oh, boy, I'm gonna
Yeah,
have to
there we go.
spin it. Hold on.
Okay. Yeah, there it goes.
Is that packet available to send out electronically?
It went out this morning.
It went out this, I'm gonna share my screen too, Jack. Hold on.
Okay.
I just have to reorient the
Okay,
the stuff. The slides, hold on. There we go.
All right. So I was here 3 months ago. You guys looked at this project. The homeowner had some ideas about roof lines and windows that weren't appropriate. So I just wanted to run it by you so that you could tell me no and I could tell her no. So
This is
we-
recorded.
Okay.
So this is,
It's the truth. So I'm just gonna run through all the pages, just to give you an idea of where we are again. First page is the existing structure, photographs of the left wing. intention of the left wing is to demo and replace basically from the door to the gable end. There's a full basement below, it's flooding with water. So we want to rectify that, and rebuild this wing, as well as extend it 3'3".
Tell me when.
Next page, I'm just talking about the front and the right side. So the front of the existing building will stay as is. The front, the gable end of the right side of the existing original building will stay as is. You'll see it bump out in a wing to the rear. The front facade with the door and the window over will stay as is. And then our intent is to demo that entire wing and extend it back.
You'll do something different with the electric line that's running
Correct.
through
Yep,
there.
I've got a note on that. Yeah, so that's ugly and basically that whole side is not very attractive with a couple windows, a door and that double panel on it. So we'll bury the power line, move the meter to the back of the building. Page 3, just kind of the big picture of what's there and what's going to be new. While I'm looking at that page, I just have a question. So there's a fence on the left wing gable end that they would like to replace. Is that going to be part of a review, or is that a given that we can just put it back?
The fence, I don't think,
You see on page 1.
This,
you're not gonna put up
gray
a,
fence.
as long as you're not gonna put up a chain link.
No, they have a pet dog, like to contain them.
Yeah.
I just didn't know if that was part of the review.
There are some pretty cool fences they could make,
Sure.
that look compatible.
Do you have an idea what kind of fencing you're thinking
No,
about,
it occurred to me while I was sitting here, I'm like, oh yeah, there's a fence there, what should we do with it? So,
This is an informal?
this
This is informal, so
Yeah,
I
it's
mean, if you
informal.
have more information when you come back to
Sure.
formal,
Okay,
maybe that would be interesting.
all right, fair enough. So moving on to page 4. You can see the bubbles around the affected area.
Mhm.
So the whole back wing on the right side gets taken off. Pretty traditional looking facade on the side. And then she just, basically does what she wants to do with the rest of the building. Creating a courtyard and all that, but if you keep going to the next page. Page 5. Front of the existing building stays the same, only paint and rot repair as needed. To the left, there's a dining room. That's existing, no change. Those are all 12/8 style windows. The new area to the left, we're replicating the look. We're just extending it 3'3".
And you're not putting in a 12/8 window there,
The existing is a 9'9", so
but if you're be nice if all 3 of those windows were the same.
oh, I agree. The homeowner said, well, that's what's there, so let's put that back.
That's what's on the.
Yes.
Well, then you could, right,
That was their intent, to replicate what's already there.
okay,
I personally would go with a 12/8.
right.
Um,
Why don't you make that suggestion?
Yeah. So that's something the historic commission might
Sure.
like to see as the 12/8.
So that's basically the front. You go to the right side, we're replicating the look of that door and the small window above that's already there. very similar roof line, same pitch. Inside, instead of a first floor and an attic with a knee wall, we're just gonna go up to a 9-foot wall, and then a vaulted ceiling. So same look and different interior. Moving on. Page 6. So this is the right elevation.
No, that looks much better.
This is all new. This is better than before.
Yeah, the windows are
Um,
spaced nicely.
So that front part of the back wing is the cathedral ceiling area. 6/6 windows, replicating what's already there, plus the door. And as you go back to the second step of the wing, there's no, the windows aren't as balanced, but it makes sense for the interior layout.
But they're, it's not too bad.
Yeah. So bathroom and then 2 windows that obviously goes in between them. Existing on the front, we were gonna change the living room window to 2 windows. We're gonna leave it alone.
That's right.
We abandoned the idea of trying to use that as a bedroom.
Oh, okay.
Next page, the other end. So we're looking at the left gable end of the existing bedroom that we're gonna raise into place. So this one, we lost the chimney, there's no use for it now. We added a couple 6/6 windows. They're smaller and they match the one that's in the attic now. Then you go around the back, it's probably not your concern, but then we have another 3 windows there. Oh, that's the gist of that side. I'm gonna swing you around to the back, even though you can't really see it from the street. Left side, the 2, the 2 steps of the addition, and then sort of the infill area. She's going to create a courtyard and has some strange angles and windows, but that's her call. That's fine. And then on the other side, the 3 new windows that are in the back. That little shed roof that goes on the existing bedroom roof, or the existing bedroom roof line. That's an existing bulkhead made out of wood that goes to the basement. So we're not really changing the footprint, we're just changing the, adding structure above. That's the gist of it.
On the side view, the number 7. I think the door and the windows to the right and the left are existing.
Yes, this whole wing is existing.
The windows in the back, yeah, the windows in the, towards the back are existing.
The back of this wing,
Yeah,
yes.
okay, so you're not
Touching that wing at
you're
all.
not, okay, very good.
The courtyard wraps around and goes into the laundry, but we're leaving that wing alone.
All right. It just looks funny that the 2 windows near the door. Well, I like the fact that you got rid of the hip roof in the back and you spaced the windows out.
Okay,
Yeah. On the right side.
sure, yeah. Anything else that anybody has issue with, or?
Anybody
Bob?
have any?
I got a question for Bob Kelly. What's your general reaction to the new look here, Bob?
But I like it. It's much better than what was originally proposed. It's cleaner. The windows are spaced out more proper. And the hip roof that was in the back right elevation has been changed to gable. So I think it keeps the plain, simple character of the house around all the sides that can be visible from the street.
Okay, thanks, Bob.
Yeah, not terribly happy that the chimney is removed and not being replaced, but yeah.
Is that the back chimney or the front chimney?
It's the one on the left elevation, the left side. You can see it on page
Yeah, right
one.
there.
I can't see it, Bob, because the only set of drawings I have are the old ones, at least.
It's on the monitor, Jack.
It's on the monitor, Jack.
I know, but yeah, I know. I'm unfortunately using my iPhone, so it's
Oh.
about half an inch wide, so.
But it does look like a later style chimney because it's on the outside of the house.
Yeah, I think that's in the drawings that I have in front of me, that's what I'd call the back one, I guess. And I agree with you, Bob. It does look like a later add-on. So anyway, thanks for the comments, Bob. I know that you have paid close attention to this for 286 and for other things that come before us as well. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
So we don't have any further recommendations, right? For now, this is.
No, I didn't see anything glaring.
Just that one window, the 12/8.
Yeah, yeah.
It just doesn't make sense to have it.
I agree.
Mhm.
But she said, well, that's what's there, so let's go with that.
I think she may be going with that because that's what's you're putting in on the right side all down. And so she may be thinking that,
Well,
but
it's the one that's there.
it needs, I think it needs to be like the other two
Okay.
in that same part of the structure.
Do you have a time frame for moving forward, Joe?
I really don't have to do much for this, so
No.
whenever we can set up a formal meeting.
So, I mean, we could do that February if you,
Sure.
for regular February meeting, you can coordinate with Lisa on the agenda.
Is that Zoom in person? What are we doing this now?
I think that we can, if at the, discretion of the chairman, which is Julie, if we can do Zoom. Look, excuse me, we can do Zoom,
It doesn't,
whatever
I'd
your
almost rather
pleasure.
be in person if you're gonna be in person.
Yeah,
It'd probably
this
be
is,
more like this, like a hybrid.
this is
So
hybrid.
If you want to come,
I'd like to
feel
come.
free. Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
We are good to go on hybrid meetings, at least and through April
Okay.
at this point.
All
Yeah.
right, I'll put together a more formal package with colors and trim sizes and all that
Perfect.
as needed. So it's my understanding this is greater than 25%. So after February, do we go to Cape Cod Commission? Or is this-
Automatically.
It's, I don't believe that it's automatic. What I might suggest is that with the understanding that you're probably gonna change, that's okay, with the understanding you're probably gonna change that front window
Mhm,
to match the other front windows.
mhm.
I'm happy if you guys would like to, we can ship the package over to
Sarah.
Sarah Cordiff just for an informal review. And she can have a look and see if there's any issues.
Okay.
Where the proposed demolition is more than 25%, but less than 100%.
Mhm.
I think it,
And we've
It's-
reviewed it.
and the commission has reviewed it, it's the commission's discretion.
Okay.
Whether or not it goes over to the Cape Cod Commission. And I don't want to put words in your mouth, but the commission seems pleased with the design
Okay.
and that it wouldn't really trigger a commission review.
All right. Yeah, it seems like it's an improvement, if anything, on the right side. So Great.
Yeah, big improvement.
All right.
So, and
Listen,
that meeting, if you want to mark your calendar, would be February 10.
Is that an evening meeting or just?
No, it's the
daytime meeting?
same time slot, so
Okay.
10 o'clock on, it's the second Thursday of the month.
Gotcha.
So if that, for some reason, that date didn't work, the next one would be March 10th. Can
Great.
you believe it, March?
It'll be spring.
I said
already.
spring's in the air today. It is.
it wasn't yesterday.
Sure in the air.
It's in, it's
Joe, just send me what you.
Sure,
what you come
yeah.
up with and we'll get
All right.
that to you.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you all very
Yeah,
much.
sounds good.
Interesting to listen to your seal discussion.
We'll make sure to do that next time. for you.
Do you live in town, Joe?
I live in Billings.
Oh, okay. We were gonna recruit you.
No, thank you.
He shows an interest.
I suggested Pamela join, but she wasn't interested.
Okay, next we have the budget request.
That's, that is the old part. I think that, I
I
could
think I
focus
might
you
have
just on the,
Comments.
the memo
Okay.
Yeah.
that I had submitted.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you. So the update that I have for you all is, probably not what you want to hear, but, so I met the budget process, George and I met at length. And, I went into my departmental meeting, with the town administrator to explain, the historic commission's request for dedicated funding, to be set aside for the historic structures and, kind of various operations, including the education and outreach and that type of thing. I think the commission did a great job, kind of highlighting it. I want to call out George for a very nice organization on his, recommended budget. He's not here. But,
Nonetheless.
so going into that meeting, I explained to the town administrator that, the department, the community development department has, an annual kind of, I don't know, budget, basically
Expenditures.
it's expenditures. That's better than a budget, of about $7,000 that we spend annually on things like maintenance, and these things we've all reviewed before, the sales up and down at the Judabaker windmill. Alarm costs at the Taylor Gray Farm and the Judabaker windmill, critter costs, and exterminator costs at the Judabaker windmill, Taylor Gray Farm to a lesser extent. Baxter Grist Mill hasn't really been open for business, so we've had less and less stuff there. Explained that a lot of these expenses are coordinated with the Department of Public Works.
It's informal.
And all of that in an informal basis, yes. With regards to some of the advertising costs, like the mailings that we want to do, we want to develop the material to reach out to the folks in the National Register districts to let them know about demo delay, let them know about the Cape Cod Commission and the committee's review. That's something that I will dedicate through the community development budget. We'll just do a set aside every year and include that. Also funding for, I know you wanted to do the recognition awards, so we can certainly find room to do that. What was not included in the recommendation moving forward was additional funding, but we will, so
For just this year or just,
for just this year, I think
Okay.
we keep going,
Yeah.
and I think we've raised the issue. We sent this out to you last night. I had the Community Development Department review with the Finance Committee. Happy to share my PowerPoint with you all. I should send that out to you. I did highlight under budget challenges, historic structures. And called that out, made the pitch.
Mhm.
Some of the suggestions, the question came up is, can we use CPA money? The answer is no. Can't use CPA on maintenance, but maybe we have more of a conversation about really the tourism fund is out there. And I think that if we can work with DPW to put together the costs and make the pitch, they may be willing to cover some or all. I don't know. We have to make that ask formally. But they were responsive to it. I think that what my suggestion would be is we start thinking about the preservation plan and the way that we wanted to think about things just in talking with George and going through the budget. Are there one-time things that need to happen? And some of that can come under CPA perhaps. But then really, what are the ongoing costs and coming up with what needs to be done? I've had conversations with our facilities folks, Robert Nelson, just down at the farm. And when we look at the past expenses at the farm, things like cleaning the roof on the farmhouse and getting that treated with the bleach solution and all of that. How often do we need to plan to
Reoccurring,
do that?
right,
So that's-
reoccurring.
Yeah. So there, there's kind of like the one time, the sometimes, and the all the times.
Yeah.
The every years and what we need to do. So I think that that's something that we will, I don't know that I have it in the budget this year. We've had a lot of budgeted expenses.
We'll
that
get by
have
another year, I'm sure.
come through at the farm because of the barn move. But maybe next year we should really start to focus on that. And I would say, we really, in terms of outreach, I think that sooner rather than later, we start working on the outreach materials for the historic districts and get that going. I think that really is a big priority because it's got a huge impact on homeowners and people that want to make property improvements and making sure the
Realtors.
process, realtors as well, sure. So, but that's my budget update. I'll send you, we'll get you the PowerPoint presentation so that you can see that.
Great.
Thanks, Karen.
Sounds like you took it as far as it could go.
Yeah, I think so.
So,
I think, my comment, and if you can feel free to go back and watch the finance committee meeting if you want, but the tie-in, through the planning board and their visioning process. One of the comments that's really come through is about all the good stuff that we have in town. And, and I count the historic sites as one of those. I count the parks, the formal parks and the informal parks among those. But we really need to do a good job taking care of things and preserving all these
if we own
positive
it,
thing in
right,
town.
we own it, we gotta take care of it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think
Or
it's a
like in
nice
the old
comment.
days, sell it off. If you can't maintain
Well,
it.
yep.
Right.
We have a land disposition committee looking at some of that stuff,
Yeah. I
so,
don't doubt it.
anyways, that's the
Okay.
scoop.
Okay,
Can I, quick question, Karen, would you, I'll go watch the YouTube video myself, I guess. Would you be willing to characterize in 25 words or less the reception that you got from the finance committee about this, about a commission budget or expenditures?
I think that they understand the need for it. I think that they'd like to, the question about can CPA money be used for it is a little telling. And I think we really do need to go through the process of seeing whether or not the tourism fund is a viable source of funding and to what extent.
And of course,
Yeah.
you said that the selectmen also kind of gave you a nod that you should go ahead and make a budget.
Well, that was I think the selectmen gave the historic commission the nod
Yes,
at their meeting. So that
So
was
they
really,
see the need.
and I think you just have to keep at it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know if that answers, there wasn't a whole lot of dialogue on it, Jack.
Okay.
But-
I
But certainly
think-
tune in and
The
I,
administrator did his job.
yeah, I'd be interested to hear your feedback. So,
I
right.
think there's value in, I accept that there's going to be no additional funding, but I see value in the process, if you will, that
absolutely.
pulling this all together and presenting it as the expenditures that are made on behalf of historic properties and preservation in general. That's valuable because before you can start really convincing the people who are going to make the call on money like this, you first have to make them aware of the issues and the problems. And I couldn't agree more with the aspect of preservation planning. I would define preservation planning to not only include the physical properties, but I would, and here's the value of a professional seeking professional advice from a cultural management firm, that it's not only preserving the farm and the two mills and other things in town that are relevant, but we also have to address the so what are you going to do with it question. And that's where a cultural resources management firm, if we can get money either via community preservation grants, or I'm intrigued, Karen, especially by the notion that there's the possibility of some tourism fund helping out on that score too. We have to keep the preservation definition writ broadly when we're thinking about this. What are we going to do once the, it's the old argument we've been having, a discussion we've been having about, for instance, the farmhouse at Taylor Bray Farm, and the barn too, now that it's the process is underway. Is the question that related to using tourism money, is that a legal question?
No, I don't think so. I think, when the Historic Commission's made a request previously for the signage, I think the interpretive signage at the Judah Baker Windmill, if memory serves, I'm looking at Bob. No, it's putting it together. I think it's working with DPW. DPW's got some turnover right now. There's been a number of retirements over there. So I think we will have heightened awareness, at least from my end, to know about things that used to head that way. And I'll have to check on them and see, what's going on with the sales and that type of thing. I think we just need to make a coordinated effort and keep sprucing up the budget and the and have that ready to move forward. And we can make an ask. I mean, we need to prioritize. My suggestion right now is the priority is identifying all the costs. Just like you say, we need to do all our information collection so that we can assess it, prioritize it, and figure out how to deal.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. I really do think that the raising awareness part of it is really a key. Did you include in your that 7K figure? Does that include utilities?
It doesn't.
It
So
doesn't.
that's, I think, no, it does not. There's additional information because the 7K includes the items that, these are just invoices that I've paid through not I personally, that the community development budget has covered. So.
Does the utility bill for the, I'm thinking the 3 properties, that is it the same? What does it run? Ballpark idea.
Oh, I don't know. I don't have a figure on top of my head, Jack. I'd hate to guess. I don't think it's huge.
We need
Is
to,
it-
we
is
only
it-
have this room, Jack, I'm gonna interrupt you. We only have this room for 5 minutes, so we need to wrap up our
Yeah.
meeting for today.
You didn't anywhere
Is that
with
an attainable figure, Karen?
No, there is no coding.
Would you make a suggestion that these ad hoc payments are coded so that there is a record down the road that even though we don't have a budget, we're
I'll talk
robbing
to the
it
finance director.
We still have a couple.
just to establish that we do have expenditures every year that's,
Are getting paid somehow.
yeah, getting paid
Yeah.
somehow.
I will talk to Ed and see if he can help us with this analysis at all.
There's still a couple of things left on the agenda is, could we just continue these to tomorrow since we
Oh, we can.
are out of time today for the run?
Great idea, Jim.
Okay, thanks.
I didn't think of that. I love that. I think that's a super idea.
Okay, because we do need to go over these other things. I don't want them just to get forgotten, but if we can't be in this room, then we need to wrap it up. So we're going to make a motion to continue our meeting. Do I have to say anything else about
So
that?
there's
You said something about my-
I would
Continuance.
suggest a motion be made to
Uh-huh.
continue this meeting
Uh-huh.
to tomorrow, which is January 14th
At
at
1 o'clock.
1 o'clock.
Yes.
Yeah, thank
Okay.
you.
That's what I'm gonna say.
Is there a motion?
I
Making-
move that we continue this meeting. We ask for a continuance of this meeting to resume tomorrow afternoon at 1 p.m.
January 14th.
January.
Is there a second out there?
I
Second.
second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay,
Okay.
all right, thanks, everybody. We'll see everybody tomorrow at 1 o'clock.
And Jack, we'll hear from you before that.
You
2
will,
a.m.
you will.
2 a.m. Yeah, we may not have a
Setting my alarm.
conversation, but.
More full strength coffee.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Recorder off.